Hey, what's going on, guys? Shawn Connors here, and I wanted to give you an update on our short-term rental property journey. So we have owned this property now for about 7 months. So we closed on it at the beginning of September in 2021. Took us 5-6 weeks-ish, maybe a little bit more, to get the property up and ready. Listed on Airbnb, Vrbo, HomeAway. We actually have our own website also. But anyway, it took us about 6 weeks to get it up and ready. Our first guests were at the end of October in 2021. So we now have about 6 months total of owning and operating the short-term rental business. And I wanted to give you an update, show you where we're at today, go over some numbers with you, just so you can feel more comfortable, feel more confident in getting started and buying a short-term rental, because we had no experience before. We had experience as landlords for long-term rentals, but we didn't have any experience with short-term rentals. And I know that it can be daunting, but it can be done. So I'm going to backtrack and just go over the numbers for the house, what we purchased it for, how much money we put into it, and where we stand today with reservations completed and future reservations. So we bought the house originally for $349,000. We were able to negotiate a 3% seller assist. And also, since I'm a real estate broker, I was able to take the commission that I was supposed to earn of 2.5% and put that down against closing costs for the property. So that's about 5.5% off of the actual closing costs that we were able to utilize to bring our costs way down. So we used a second home loan, which means that we were able to put 10% down. And with the subtractions, the 5.5% from the closing costs, we were out of pocket about $31,000. And the house was in great shape. We were very fortunate, had a new septic system, newer well filtration system. So we really didn't have to worry about big ticket items. Their windows were replaced within the past decade. Same with the roof. So a lot of those big ticket items were already taken care of. So we were very fortunate in that regard. All we had to do was furnish it, right? So that's the easy part, or so you would think. And we didn't realize that it was going to be as expensive. Looking back in hindsight, we probably should have budgeted a little bit better for that. But at the end of the day, we fully furnished it for about $20,000, $21,000, give or take. So what we did, and I think it's a really good idea, is we utilized Facebook Marketplace for a lot. For a lot of things, we utilize Facebook Marketplace because people, especially in where we live in Chester County, some of our neighbors will buy stuff that is very expensive, maybe use it once or twice, and then just sell it for like a really discounted price. We got phenomenal deals on Facebook Marketplace. But for more bigger ticket items, we actually purchased through Raymore and Flanagan. They always have had great furniture. We ended up spending about $10,000 or so, a couch, love seat, chair and a half, and then 2 pull-out couches for the upstairs and then the downstairs. So we were out of pocket total between closing costs, furnishing costs, around $52,000, $53,000. And again, we paid $349,000. We had it appraised when we purchased it, and it appraised at $390,000. So we actually bought it and got about $40,000 of instant equity, which is a huge deal for us, because as the home continues to appraise and as we continue to pay the debt down, then we can start borrowing against it to buy more properties. More recently, we had to go through the refinance process. I know now is a terrible time to refinance, and I would definitely not suggest for you to do so, but we had to for reasons that I don't want to get into. Anyway, the property ended up appraising for about $410,000, and we've only owned it for 7 months. So that's another $20,000 of equity, which is pretty amazing. So let's talk about booking numbers. We have been very fortunate to have booked the property pretty much almost every single weekend from the time that we put it on in October until May. We've been fortunate to have been able to keep it very booked, solid. So we've made a good amount of profit. We've had to reinvest back into some repairs that have come up along the way, and for furnishings and, guests stealing things and breaking things, the stuff that you already budget for when you own a short-term rental. So it's just par for the course, right? It happens. So for completed stays and bookings all the way out until Christmas of this year and New Year's Eve and into the new year of 2023, we've booked about $55,000. So if you take the money that we have already put into it, which is probably around there, $55,000, give or take or so, and now we have these completed bookings and future bookings all the way out until $55,000. So we're getting back almost all of the money that we put into it. But yes, we are paying down the mortgage, so you have to take that into account, and future repairs that come up. But you can see that it's very profitable. It's not like long-term investing where the tenant is staying there for a year, 18 months, 2 years or more. It is more of a business, and it's more hands-on too. You have to be very attentive. And what we have learned is that you have to, one, answer your phone and messages almost immediately. You have to be on top of it. You have to be very service-oriented and guest-oriented and make sure that, because you're providing for them this place where they're vacationing, it's like booking a hotel, right? So we are the housekeepers. Well, we outsource housekeeping, so to speak, but we are the managers of it. We're making sure that everything is in place, that the house is clean, that the house is stocked, it has paper towels, it has toiletries, it has sheets on the bed, all that stuff. So we have to manage that. And by we, I mean my wife and I, but mainly my wife, she takes care of a lot of it. So making sure that those things are in place and you're communicating with your cleaner and you have a handyman set up and ready to go just in case anything happens. We have been very, very fortunate to have found the cleaner that we have. She's done a fantastic job. And we've been very fortunate to find the handyman that we have. He's done a fantastic job for us too. So all these things we found through Facebook. So Facebook is still a valuable resource, and I would highly utilize it depending on where you buy your short-term rental. The second thing is making sure that your listing stands out above the rest. Most people, you would be surprised, but most people where our short-term rental is in the Poconos, they're not even using professional photography. And that's always the first step. Use professional photography. Your first impression is your last impression. You have that split second. People are scrolling through on their phone, checking on their computer. They're on Airbnb, they're on Vrbo, wherever they're at, and they're searching. And there's so many different options that you have to stand out. You have to catch their eye right away. The best way to do that is through photography and making sure that your home is staged really well for photos, and that when they show up, the photos that they've seen matches reality. So that's been something that has been important for us, and we have gotten a lot of feedback that says that what they saw in the pictures is what they got in reality. So making sure that your listing stands out through professional photography, and do a video too. I would highly suggest putting a video on there. I know on Airbnb you can't list a video, but you can list a video on Vrbo, and then you can put it on your social media if you have one, and you can also put it on your website. So that would be the second thing. Third thing we learned is you have to be okay with other people staying in your house. This was very, very tough for me. Very tough, because we have vacationed in this property a lot. It's our vacation home that we're also using as a short-term rental. So throughout the year, we'll go up for a couple days at a time, a weekend at a time. And we realized that other people were going to be staying there, but it wasn't until other guests stayed and we went back that I started to get really upset about it. And it was very hard for me to process. And I know that we bought it with the intention that we were going to rent it out. but it was still really tough for me to see because you want people to treat your property like you would treat your property. And you're just not going to get that all the time. So making sure that you're okay with renting out your property to guests and understanding that they're not going to treat it the way you do. You know, they're going to break things and they're not going to tell you. They're going to scratch the floor and they're not going to tell you. They're going to scuff up the paint and they're not going to tell you. They're going to break the arm of your chair in half and you're not going to find out for a month until you go up there and see it. And then you have to order a whole new chair. Thankfully, we had insurance and they just replaced it for us. But these are the things that are going to happen and you're not going to know. We bought a 12-pack of wine glasses and we went up recently and we found out that there was only 2 left. That's 10. 10 wine glasses are missing or broken and we had no idea. So you have to be okay. You have to understand that the guests are not going to treat it like you, but you really have to not take it personally, as difficult as it sounds, coming from me especially, because I have taken it very personally. And the fourth thing that we learned is reinvesting the profits that you make. So this first year, every payout that we get is just going into our business bank account for this property. And we are not going to use that for any kind of living expenses. We want to build up the reserve just in case any major expenses come along. And then we're going to eventually take the profit and reinvest it into more homes. Fortunately, we are under contract to buy our second one in 9 months, which is fantastic. If everything goes to plan, we'll have 2 short-term rentals in a 9-month span. It's only half a mile down the road from where we are now. It's in the same HOA development, so it has all the same amenities. It's a beautiful house, and we're very fortunate. But we have been patient. We have been looking and making sure that we're finding a property that is going to cash flow like this. And we know which ones are going to cash flow. So now that we have been in the game, so to speak, for about 7 months, we know what guests want. We are aware of what people are looking for because we have spoken to so many guests. We've gotten so many different reviews, so much different feedback. Now we're under contract with another property that is very similar to the one that we have now. And it's going to be, in my opinion, probably just as profitable, maybe even a little more because the house is nicer and it's newer. We're actually able to find it off market too. So we skipped out on bidding wars and all that good stuff. So we're extremely fortunate about that. But again, is think about reinvesting the profits instead of just taking the profits and applying them to your living expenses, which down the road, a few years from now, maybe when we have 10 or 20, that's the whole reason to buy these short-term rental properties, because of the cash flow. And the cash flow is really, really great. So that's it for this video. I hope you got some value from it. If you have any questions about short-term rental investing, do me a favor and reach out. You can always shoot me a text, 267-808-0574. Look forward to speaking with you soon, and have an awesome day. Take care.